From this very first sentence, you might be able to pick up that we actually aren't from Texas. We're not from anywhere near Texas. And we never dreamed or imagined that our lives would take such a radical turn after we landed in America from Ireland. Literally fresh off the boat, moving to the United States, having never lived here before and not understanding the way of life here very well. We were thrown into a pretty crazy situation. So while volunteering with a charity that serves the homeless community in Houston, we came across a baby who was in dire need. Mom was also in dire need. Lack of resources and basic childcare knowledge had led him to be very sickly. He was underweight, he was covered in scabies, he had mold growing all over his body, he had critical neck injuries. He was just in a really bad way, and obviously his mother was not able to care for him. She knew that, and she asked us to help her with him, and subsequently asked us to adopt him. That baby is now our 15-year-old, healthy, incredible, amazing son, and his life and that moment changed our lives forever in ways that are really hard to express.
And in caring for him, we were also involved with helping his mother and her community and trying to help her get on her own feet. And our eyes were suddenly wide open to the very difficult cycles of poverty they live in and the trajectories that these young people growing up in underserved communities seem to be on and can be stuck in.
And there's always so much interest in our work with the homeless, and rightly so. And all of us have a broken heart for these babies and children without resources. When we hear those stories, our heart is saddened. But what about when those babies begin to grow up? When they become teenagers, when they become men and women, still without resources and life tools? Maybe our empathy begins to grow a little bit thin. Maybe we don't have the same compassion and we don't want to reach out and help quite as quickly.
Another thing when we were fresh off that boat, when we arrived here, something we didn't know is that there's a large segment of society who aren't allowed to vote. They find it almost impossible to rent a place to live in, very difficult. And even though they can be very qualified and very willing, ready, they're rarely able to find employment. And we are able to feel instant compassion for those babies who need help, who need our help, who are helpless, and they have needs that we can meet. But what about when those babies, when they grow up and they're without tools, without education or the support needed for success in life? What about when those babies that we care about, they become prisoners? Or what about citizens with records or felonies? Do we still care? Do we have that compassion, that empathy? Or can we simply dismiss them and forget about them because we feel they got what they deserved?
We could give you a list of statistics. We could talk at length about the 70,000 who go into prison, 70,000 coming out, big numbers of recidivism, up to 50,000 tax dollars per inmate. These inmates have been referred to by a number for enough time. They're not names, they're numbers. And we don't want to talk about numbers. We want to talk about people. We want to give them value. We want to say who they are. So we want to introduce you to some people. We want to introduce you to some people who are being released from prison. And they get out of prison holding a red bag like this. They're wearing their prison clothes. They have their prison shoes on. Those prison shoes often have offender written on the bottom. So they're literally walking in an identity of being an offender. Everything they own is in this bag. There are hustlers outside the bus station waiting for them to take the $50 that has been given to them to start their new life. Those hustlers want to draw them back into the life that they had before. Imagine starting your new life with only $50 and everything you own in this bag and the stigma of a felony record. And a hustler is offering you, come back into that life. Come with me. What would you do?
We want to introduce you to 4 chain bags that we see every day. One that we see is full, sometimes 2 stuffed chain bags. It's got everything from prison ramen noodles. It's got a prison fan. It's got even toilet paper stuffed in it. Everything that represents what we may need tomorrow. They're so riddled with fear. They don't know what tomorrow holds, and they have everything that they own and possess in 2 chain bags.
Then we see someone with a stack of books. They spent years learning. They've bettered themselves. Maybe they've gotten a degree or a diploma. Nobody cares. What people care about is you've got a felony. But they've learned, they've grown, they've changed. But what people see is you've got a felony.
A chain bag that we see every day is often one that's empty. All it has in it is maybe some parole papers, a few documents, and that often represents a story of someone who wants to leave everything behind and start all over again. But imagine starting over with nothing except a record.
And what about the mom going home to her babies who've maybe been taken by Child Protective Services, and all she has in here is just a few little bits that she made in prison, maybe a picture she drew for her daughter, and she's going back to try to fight for her children because she loves them and she wants to be a parent. Everything she owns is in this bag, and no one cares. They just care that she has a felony.
So what can be done? What's the solution? Well, 7 more part to play in it is that we meet these men and women being released. We immediately exchange these red flags, these chain bags, for backpacks, and we give them hygiene and clothes and food, and help them maybe in a practical way to get on this new trajectory. But far more important than that is 7 more wants them to know that they're seen, that they have dignity, that they have hope, and that they have a chance on this new journey.
What can you do? What can we all do to intercept these cycles at every corner of our community? Let's think about our lives and what we have to offer. Maybe you're an apartment manager and you could give a chance to somebody who has a felony. Maybe you're an educator and you could go the extra mile. Maybe you're an employer and you could look past their past. How can we look at these people and not see their record, but see maybe a baby that was never rescued, never given tools for stepping forward in life? Can we see past the felony and see a dad who wants to start a new cycle? Can we see a dad or a mom trying to start a new family tradition that doesn't include prison? Maybe they want to have family members now who go to college instead of prison. Can we see these men and women as those babies that it was so easy for us to care for, that it was so easy for us to feel sad and sorry and give our resources to? Can we see them? Can we hear them?
We need to see what they have to offer to society and to us, and how we all benefit when they thrive. We all benefit when they take positive steps.